Computer. Here we go. All right, we're now recording, and this is our March webinar 2019 GenMin Camp Initiatives. And we're missing Jeff, but he will watch the recording and what we talked about. I'm really excited about the topic tonight, and also just catching up with everybody before we see each other in person next month. So this will be our last webinar before our Director Summit. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. If you have some ideas or thoughts about the summit before we've got another month. He's put together a draft agenda. Has everybody seen that? Has he sent that out to everybody? Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So we will, we can pull that up and take a look at that too. So, let's see, Mike, would you mind opening us up in prayer? Would you be okay doing that for us? Unmuting yourself. Awesome.
There we go. Okay, let's all join together. Father, Son, Spirit, we thank you once again for this opportunity at togetherness. We know that you're all about that, for you have been together as one for all eternity, and out of your goodness and love, you've invited us and brothers and sisters by the billion into that relationship as well. And you're doing that a person at a time, according to your good and precious plan for each life you've created. And we thank you for that and for the knowledge of this, and that we can just join in as well to that outreach, to the ministry that you give, that we may do in our communities and as well in our camps with young people. We're so thankful for these opportunities, and right now across the many thousands of miles that we can join together our voices and just share and plan and work toward the things that we are joining you in as you reach out to young people and families and serve them and help them to experience what it is to live in your love via the vehicle of a gathering at camp, and the special activities and fun and learning and so on that goes on as part of it. So would you bless this meeting? Help us to hear your voice, to be led of your Spirit as we converse and share and grow together and begin to make the final arrangements for what we will do in joining you in ministry and outreach to young people and families over the coming months. We thank you for your presence in this, and we ask this by the name of our Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mike. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I just wanted to mention there's a chat room going on. Mark will be manning that. So if you want, you can click on the bottom. There's a little pop-up menu. You can just hit chat, and that'll pop up on your right-hand side of the screen. And let's see, I'm going to share my screen. I want to mention that tonight's topic, even though it is about camp counselors, let's see, this applies to missions. You just take the parts off that don't apply. It applies to day camps. So you can just pick the parts that apply to you. And I'm not, instead of saying each time camp counselors / mission attendees or mission participants, I'm just gonna let you go ahead and fill in that blank yourself. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? Yes, okay, great. All right, we had a prayer, awesome. So I just wanna mention that we have one more webinar after the summit before our camp seasons really kick in. And I don't have a topic for that, so if there's something that you really want covered, please just message us, put it in the chat room, or email us. And then, of course, the Director Summit is April 26th through 28th. I'm really looking forward to seeing the home office for the first time. That'll be exciting. Maybe some of you will be your first time as well. Tonight, we're going to talk about the camp counselor. This was Marty Davies' suggestion. Thank you, Marty. He had a pretty well thought out question, suggestion, and also an idea to make videos that we could share among each other with little kind of scenario skits of, what a good camp counselor looks like. That would take a lot of planning. Maybe somebody in your area has that skill, expertise, and time to put that together. That'd be awesome. If not, we're going to talk about it. It's not quite as effective as showing it. But we also are aware of some resources that have already done some of the work. I know one we've used before, and we'll talk about it a little more later, but is Expert Online Training. And they do a ton of, I think they have over 100 videos now. And they're very well done, well acted out, so you can see like the wrong way to discipline or the right way to discipline. And of course, they've got the budget because they charge a pretty penny for their service, that kind of thing. But for now, we're going to talk about our context as camp counselors. So we'll start out by talking about this. Some of you have probably seen these graphics. What my parents think I do, singing songs with the kids on the grass. What my friends think I do, that looks like the Young Ambassadors, doesn't it? What society thinks I do, hey dude, you know, kind of the camp counselor from the movies. What my director thinks me and my co-counselor do, got the Jedi. What I think I do, Superman. What I really do, and I hope that none of you do this, but I thought that was pretty funny. Sometimes our best counselors are a little goofy, and sometimes we'll get down on the level of the kids and slime each other or that kind of thing. Or maybe we should give them a test, the camp counselor test. The thing I value most is sleep, privacy, free time, long showers, money, good food, making a difference, none of the above, all of the above. And it goes on to say, if you choose G, you're hired, making a difference. And this, of course, really applies to mission trips. If you choose anything else, find another job, because you may not get a long shower or a shower, right, on some of these mission trips. Or at some of the camps, if you're in Montana, you get, I think there's like one spigot, and you consider the going in the lake as your bath. And some of you might have seen this. This is probably really small. Maybe you can't read it, but I've seen this circulate around. It's really awesome. The Camp Counselor's Manifesto. I'm a summer camp counselor. I believe in camp. I believe in shorts, t-shirts, and sandals. I believe in singing at the table. I believe everyone should know the games to play on a bus. I believe in early morning dip, even if I don't always go. I believe that if you play with children, you'll stay childlike. I believe that camp makes a difference in every camper's life as well as my own. Camp is a place that I can get away from the rush of everyday life and back to the basics. I come to camp for the campers, but also for myself. Every camper is an individual, and I need to treat them as such. One method does not work with all campers. I'll strive to find the balance that will help me see each camper as an individual and help me to give them each the summer of their lives. I'll remember my favorite counselors and teachers. By remembering them, I draw on the positives of these people to make myself into a better counselor. I'm the most important person at camp to my campers, physical person. My campers will watch everything that I do and say this summer, so I want to do what is right and say what is good. Camper see, camper do. I need help, and I will not be afraid to ask for it. The staff want to see me succeed and will help me do so, but only if I ask. Camp is camp because of the people that are there. I believe that every child should have an opportunity to attend camp at some point in their lives. Camp is good. No camp is great. No camp is great. No, comma, camp is great. Camp is good. No, camp is great. In fact, I believe camp is the best place to be. I believe this is going to be the best summer yet. So kind of long, but it kind of encapsulates the heartbeat of a lot of our staff and the counselors that are coming. And we're going to talk about what does an effective counselor look like? And I asked you all in the email to kind of think about it. So I'm going to actually pull out of presentation mode, and I'm going to type as you talk. So I want to hear from you. If you were to describe the most effective counselor you've ever had on staff, or maybe mission trip participant, what are some of the things that you would put on this list? And I know not everybody has all of them, but let's make up this perfect ideal camp counselor. Yeah, like it could be a phrase or a single word, not a paragraph though.
Relational.
Relational, I like it.
Listens well.
Yes, good listener.
Enthusiastic.
Yes, that's important, huh? That's contagious.
Unselfish.
Unselfish. Gotta be.
Like healthy boundaries or solid boundaries, just
Yeah.
but just structured, maybe even is a good one.
Yeah, can we say balance of structure and fun?
Yeah.
That's so important.
That's what I was going for, something that making sure they get some sleep during the week is helpful.
and really, they won't say it, but they do crave that structure. It gives them a kind of a feeling of safety, knowing that somebody's in control besides them.
Oh, the kids.
Yeah, the kids.
Yeah.
How about flexible?
Yes, that's a good one. Very flexible.
They call it, in the mission terms, they call that fluid because we've decided flexible wasn't flexible enough.
I like it.
You actually have to flow into the little spaces. So.
I like that.
Yeah.
Accountable.
Oh, accountable. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to go to my next screen.
Maybe creative.
Ooh, that's always helpful. Have a couple creatives on your staff.
Did we say positive?
We said enthusiastic, but I think that's different than positive or optimistic. That's good.
Team-based.
Yes. If they're not a team, or let me say team player.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you can have a really amazingly talented individual, but if they can't work well with a team, it's a struggle. It's a real struggle.
Observant.
That's good. Yes, because you need somebody who can see the kids that are out front and the kids that are lagging behind or falling behind. That's good.
A good role model.
Yes. Good role model. I like it. Ooh, these are really good.
Teachable.
Teachable.
Free in the summer.
What's that?
Available.
Oh, you're doing the what is that? The fat thing or the after more thing? Available. What is it? Available, faithful, teachable, responsible.
Oh no, I was thinking, they're free for the summer.
Yeah.
Willing to volunteer.
A warm body. Yeah.
Yeah.
A warm body. We're looking at effective, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the first page now. Did we have something like loving?
No, we said relational, but loving. Yeah.
I was thinking empathy. That might go with the loving type thing.
Oh yeah, loving.
You understand the compassionate, empathetic. Yeah.
Yeah, compassionate. Oops, I'm gonna. I'll just make that smaller. Let's see. I'm gonna have to copy that slide and do one more. Okay, I think we could.
Teachable.
I think we put teachable in there already.
Did you already?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. Humble. Okay.
Take a couple more.
Pays attention.
Pays attention. Anything else, or did we pretty much cover it?
Knows how to be a follower. Because a good
Okay.
leader has to
Hashtag followers.
learn.
Was that Stan?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you the 703 area code?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Good deal. Welcome, Stan.
Can I put those on the same
Thank you.
line? A good follower and a good leader? What do you think? Or should those be separate? How about
I like them
good
together.
follower? I'll put servant leader. How about that as a separate point?
There you
Trustworthy.
Trustworthy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're entrusting kids into they become like what's that called? Apprentice and locus apprentice. They become parents, temporary parents, trusting kids to these staffers. I was going to look, do you know in the manual, there's a whole section on what to look for in a staff member. We'll get to that in just a minute. Yeah, that's a pretty high bar. Has anybody ever read the manual and gone, yikes? I don't know. I don't know if I'm up to that. We'll look at that in just a moment. Anything else?
Kind.
Kind. That's actually on a couple lists that I saw online. That's good. Yeah. Kind. Did we already put fun on there somewhere?
Hmm.
We did.
The balance of fun and
Balance
structure.
of fun and structure. Yeah. Okay. So can you all think of, do any of you have somebody that has all of these as in one person?
I can
Mike's
just think
laughing.
of one.
Think of one? Oh, good. Good.
He lived about 2,000 years ago.
Good one, Stan. Well, if we know what we're looking for, how do we find the kind of people we just talked about, and how do we train them, and how do we retain them? Effective camp counselors. What are some techniques that you all use to find people that fit what we just described? I'm going to put pray first because I know that we do a lot of that. Like we're kind of right there right now. We don't have any lead counselors for our senior boys. They're just, the schedules and everything is worked out that we don't have any leads. So I'm praying a lot right now and trying to figure out where we're going to get our lead counselors from. So any other techniques?
I wouldn't say it's a technique so much as just you find them in campers growing up.
Yep.
You know, you see that potential.
Yep.
I'd say friends of counselors sometimes is to bring them in.
Yes. That's a good one because the counselors know what it takes to be a counselor, and they're not going to invite somebody, hopefully they're not going to invite somebody that would do a poor job. They're going to invite somebody that is cut out for camp. We've got some really great recommendations, recruits that way. So right now we're talking about maybe just finding them. Where do we find people like this? How about church? Hopefully you're looking around your church for people that have those qualities. Looking at campers, friends of counselors.
Sometimes colleges.
Yes, colleges.
College campus.
Yep. Local colleges. Sometimes they have, if some are in a ministry degree, they have to do a certain amount of internship hours. That's a good place to look. They're looking for a place to serve. Anywhere else you're going to find these kind of people? Maybe other camps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like other GCI camps?
Yeah, poaching.
Poaching? Is that what it's called?
Or camp hoppers, you know.
Yeah.
We do
Yeah.
it by choice.
Yeah, Carrie.
Carrie. Okay, what about training them? Let's talk about real quick about the training part of this. We just talked about where we're going to find them. What about, how are we going to train them?
So,
What do you all do?
so in my work, my line of work, I do recruiting. And I always think about when I try and recruit and onboard somebody, I try and treat them the way I want to be treated. I try and just give them all the information. I don't try and sell them on anything, but I try and ensure that they have all the information they need to make a good, informed decision.
Yes. That's on the recruiting part, the recruiting side of things?
Right. And as far as training, you know, I want to train them like I want to be trained, you know, and try and give them all the information that they need to be successful.
How do I put that down? How would you word that, Stan? On the this is kind of the recruiting page.
Share information freely.
Okay. And then on the training, you said that you
Train them the way I want to be treated, the way I want to be trained.
Good. Awesome.
with those qualities that we just talked about, with empathy and patience.
Okay,
And all of
so how about set expectations? Because sometimes people just don't know what you expect of them. I think that's really important in your training.
Yeah.
Clear.
Right.
Anything else? How do you guys do your training? How do you get your staff from where they are to become those effective counselors we just talked about, or mission participants?
If you have the ability, I would say pair like a new counselor with a more experienced counselor.
Well, as I was talking about before, we have a staff retreat that we try to get everybody to come at.
Yes.
To be relational there more than anything.
Yes.
The crew, it's called different things, but like the staff in training opportunities before, on their own.
Yeah, that's good. Those are good, like training wheels almost.
And a benefit of the CIT program too is you have there's so many situations now where you really need 3 counselors to a dorm, and we tend to have 3 for every dorm, and usually one of them is inexperienced, and so they're kind of like an apprentice, whether they're a young adult or an adult. They learn by being there, and then they have a frame of reference for more detailed training you may get in meetings in the future. So the CIT program and having that 3rd counselor is really great, because just even as a babysitter, when you have to have 2 people in the dorm, and so they get experience that way, and then you've got a frame of reference that in their mind, so they can adapt to what you teach them in theory.
That's good. That's good that you have enough counselors to do that. That's really good. But no, it is. It's on the ground training is some of the best. And if you have time to debrief it while you're going, that's even a greater learning tool. We're going to say, Carrie?
Like a counselor to the counselors, if not just necessarily for the crew or CIT, but just someone who is there with it, just that on the ground training and can be mindful of them and, help them when they need a break and see when they need something more.
A counselor for the counselors.
Yeah. We call that counselor support, but that's so critical, especially when you have a situation that's new for your counselor, and the counselor support can come in and handle it in front of them, and they're watching the way it's done, whether it be breaking up a fist fight or a kid that's a runner that's like running off from the dorm, or like those kinds of situations that don't happen every day. Sometimes you don't know how to handle those, and it's really nice to be able to just radio, I need counselor support, ASAP. So those are good.
We started last year something new because we have so many pastors.
Yeah.
That we have a dorm chaplain that
okay.
is there to help all the counselors with issues and things like that.
So one for every dorm, or one for all the dorms?
One for every dorm.
One for every dorm? Wow.
Yep.
Is that cool or what?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's really good.
That's a luxury. Got a question for everybody.
Yes.
So I thought I heard earlier a little bit of on-the-ground training. So do you all also do this? We have every day of camp, we have a meeting, a breakfast meeting with the counselors, and it's a debrief meeting. How did it go last night? Any questions? Any suggestions? That sort of thing. And one day it's the counselors, the next day it's the assistant counselor. So there's always somebody with the kids. And that way we get feedback from everybody every day of the week.
Yeah, that's great. Does everybody do that? Some kind of daily meeting at your camp? Yeah. That's good.
Carrie mentioned dorm parents.
Or dorm parents, yeah.
We do it over breakfast.
Yeah, and I think it's different in the context of every camp, but to have something like that is really important. I'm sure in the missions world too, you have a regular staff meeting where you talk about what's coming up and also debrief on what happened the day before. And depending on your camp, morning or evening or both. We tried both last year for the first time, and so that we could hit everybody almost every day. It worked really good, and it just gave us a chance, because part of our purpose for doing camp is not just to survive the week, but although that is one of our major goals, but it's to raise up leaders, right? So taking these staff members, especially the young ones, and making sure every day you're debriefing what's going on and giving them a space to ask questions and not feel so overwhelmed is really important. And I think it pays off to try and squeeze those in somehow. We did a new thing this year where we had a lawn time after dinner, and the whole entire camp mixed on the lawn and played games, and we made sure there was enough staff out there. And we pulled away, like one day we'd pull away all the lead counselors, and the next day we'd pull away all the assistant counselors, and in addition to our morning staff meetings. And that seemed to work pretty well, to where we were able to catch some problems as they were happening instead of finding out at the end of camp that something blew up. So anything else you do to train on the ground? That's a hard thing to do.
With our counselors, we have a junior overseer and a senior overseer. So there's someone that specifically works with the junior camp counselors, so like the 12 and under age range, and then specifically for counselors 13 and up, just because you're going to have different problems, like oh, we had a bedwetter again, and okay, I'll take care of it. Versus people not getting along in the dorms and things. So that has been helpful, I think, to have sometimes that split, the age appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, that's good advice, Carrie.
Somebody's blowing up.
Something's happening. Okay. Anything else you do? What about Mike? You're going to say something?
Yeah, just also including them as possible in other ministry opportunities throughout the year.
Okay.
That's one thing we can improve upon.
Yeah, that's that holistic approach where they're serving in their church and in the camp, and you're growing them. And camp isn't the only thing. It's one of the many things that are helping train up this leader.
I think along with that is just investing in them throughout the year. Kind of like what Mike said, that it's not just about training, but
yes. One of the things we did this year, we did video. We lost our day of staff training before camp last year, and we lost it again this year, but hopefully next year we'll have it. But that kind of freaked me out when it happened, because already one day before the campers get there doesn't seem like enough to me. And to lose that day and to arrive on the same day as the campers, just really the fear of God in me. But we worked around it. What we did is we gathered each team on a video chat. So Mark and I did 17 video chats before camp, which just sounds really overwhelming to schedule them all, but we couldn't get everybody on the same one. Plus it wasn't as personal. So it ended up being one of the best things that we ended up having to do last year, because we got to incorporate the new staff in before they ever set foot on campus, and introduce them to their team. So like, let's say we met with 1G, we met with the lead counselor, the assistant counselor, and the dorm parent, all on that same video chat. We'd go through the schedule and the theme and answer questions. And it got really redundant for me because I had to say it so many times, but it was really good for them. And then we gave them assignments, and they had to go off and do their assignments on their own, like make phone calls or video chat among their team and come back and report at a later date. I had a reporting where they checked in and had to turn their assignment in, and they had to report their assignment. And that worked really well. In this day and age, when our counselors come from all over the place, It's really hard to get them together. Like I was talking to Linda and Todd, they have their staff retreat not this weekend, but next weekend. And they'll probably get about 30% of their staff to that meeting. But what about the other 60%? You know, it's 60, I guess 33%, so 66.66% of the staff. How do you get them on the same page and have the same expectations communicated to them before they get there? Now, some of you have the luxury of maybe doing a Friday night, all day Saturday, and Sunday morning with your staff before the campers get there, and that's really good. But even then, I feel like some of them have given me feedback that it's like a fire hose and they can't absorb it all that much right before the campers arrive. So I love the idea of working with them throughout the year, and I'm hoping to start our video chats really soon. As soon as I have a lead assistant and a dorm parent like together for one team, even if I don't have the rest of the staff, I want to launch them, start training them like, you know, April, May kind of thing. So
That's a really good idea, because I know that our new lead counselors, they're husband and wife, and they've taken over and they started a Facebook page.
yeah.
I think that are just for counselors. And I think I'm going to make sure we suggest to them that maybe they consider doing this. Is there, like doing the video chats, is that something, I'm assuming they probably would know how to do it.
Yeah, I just did mine through Google. Did mine through Google Hangouts.
Okay.
Which I heard that through on the news that they're going to be phasing those out this year. Google Hangouts is going to phase out. But even Facebook has the ability to call people and do a video chat on Facebook Messenger. So they could do it that way. The only thing about that is you can't record it. The reason I used Google Hangouts through a YouTube connection was I was able to record it and send it and watch them back, or send it to people who didn't make it, or that kind of thing. But honestly, I don't know if you need to record them. That's the cheap free way. Right now I'm using Zoom, which Jeff Broadnex is paying like $14.95 a month to have the Zoom that we're using right now. You can get the free one, but you can only do 40-minute conversations. You have to hang up and you dial in after 40 minutes. Which I guess, you know, for free, if you want to save money, that's not a terrible thing. Everybody needs to know. Or you keep your meetings to less than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Which would be 4 minutes from now. We'd be ending about right now. But yeah, I think this day and age, to use this technology to get people connected before they arrive at camp, you know, is a really good thing. And it does take some pre-planning. But my plan this year is not to do all of them myself, but to divide it up. We just kind of got behind the 8 ball, and Mark and I ended up doing all of it. But, you know, we could divide it up, and you could have, you know, one person do 4 dorms, another person do the other 4 dorms, and, you know, then you're connecting and raising up leadership at the same time.
That's the other thing. We always tried to do that with just encouraging them to talk with each other.
Right.
And help happen. So
it's hard, you know, honestly, even with the video chat, it's hard to get people to follow through, to read articles, to watch a video. You know, I heard somebody else say something, so I'll get back to you in just a minute. I'm not sure who that was, but the expert online training, I absolutely love their videos. I think they're amazing, but you pay all that money, you send the links to your people, and then they don't go out and watch them. And so it's really like, it's a challenge to motivate people to take time out of their busy schedules to train, to train, and they have to believe they need it. You know, a lot of them think, oh, I got this. I've done this before. You know, so staff retreats are good. If you force them to go, you can make them listen to stuff they think they already know. But yeah, it's hard. Who else said something at the same time Linda was saying something? Was that you, Stan? Who was that?
Yeah. So 2 things. So we have the calls leading up towards camp, but we always try and have an in-person meeting right before camp, let's say like in June, because we have camp in August. So late May, early June, we'll have an in-person meeting and we'll travel because, you know, again, folks are coming from all over the place, from Virginia, from Philly, down to North Carolina, and we'll meet, and they'll put us up in their house, and we'll have a meeting right there in person. And it really helps with that final bonding and praying together and all that. And the other thing I was going to mention with regard to the 2 to 3 days before camp, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, it's logistics too. I mean, we make it available, but folks can't get off that Friday, and they're traveling on that Saturday, and they get there Saturday night, or, you know, again, we're talking about college students sometimes who are volunteers, and
Right.
it's you know, they got to catch a ride. You know, they're not paying for the whole bus fare or whatever. You know, so it's hard to get everybody there early.
Yep.
To have. But the good thing is that they're there by the time camp starts.
You hope. Yep. Yeah,
right.
we often have people almost every year somebody has a wedding inevitably the day before camp, and they have to come in late, or I just found out about one yesterday, and it's, you know, it's tough. You want to be compassionate, you know, you don't want to be that hard-nosed person like, well, you can't come to camp, because you're actually desperate for good counselors, so you make it work somehow. But yeah, we kind of have to use all of these, don't we? As many of these as possible to cover everybody, because some of these will work really well with some people and not others.
I know Shane also, I see him do a lot of just events that he will invite staff to, and sometimes it'll be like a camp event, you know, or a gathering, and just, you know, again, it goes kind of back to that relating with them, is having things throughout the year that they can come to and join to, and just a space for them to come together.
Yeah, that's really good. So I'm looking for my notes from Marty. Let's see. Marty said something last time. Marty, you might remember you had 3 things that you felt were all included.
Yes, I do remember. I think three things that are the main needs for counselors would be supervision and safety as one. Secondly, motivation and participation as their second duty, and thirdly, discipleship and mentoring. So these really, I believe, are the 3 things we want our counselors to specialize in. They definitely have to provide the supervision and the safety, and we want a counselor who will motivate the kids to get involved and to participate and to be enthusiastic. And then that third step, which is more of a challenge, that's the type of counselor that is harder to find, who can find the time and the method to, and has the appeal that the kids will gather around him or her and they'll listen to a short spiritual lesson, or maybe it's a debrief at the chapel, and you know, they have a good balance at it. There are some who will just talk the whole time and go on too long and not really effective, and then there's some who really are just trying to provide the supervision and the safety. They don't feel confident, or they just don't have the vision to say, I want to sit down and teach these kids a spiritual lesson. And you need those guys too, those folks too. But someone who can do all 3 of those things, and especially after doing the first 2, has the appeal to bring them along spiritually toward transformation. That's a great thing in a counselor, and a great opportunity to do it at camp.
Yeah, I like your progression, Marty, that everybody should be about the supervision and safety. That's like the bare minimum, right? And then you add to that somebody who's motivating and fun and able to get the kids to, you know, participate. That's like the next level. And then the discipleship, mentoring them in a relationship with God is like, if you can find somebody who does all 3 of those, they're a keeper. And I guess that kind of goes to our last section, as far as retainment. how do you retain these staff? But before we go to the retaining, somewhere I read that there's soft, what do they call it?
Soft skills.
Soft skills, yeah, soft skills and hard skills. And so the soft skills would be, well, the hard skills are supervision safety, right? I mean, that's like, and how to get from one place to the other, and maybe lead an activity, lead a debriefing session, lead a meeting. The soft skills would be as they're raising up the leaders in their dorm, and that maybe parts of 2 and 3 on Marty's scale there. Motivating, it's the soft skills, their leadership, developing other leaders, because really that's part of the vision, is to see these kids as future leaders, right? Disciples, who are making disciples. So so before we go into retainment, any other thoughts on staff training? I mean, I'm going to show you some more things. We're not totally done with this. We've got some resources and stuff that we want to show you and want you to add to. Any other thoughts? Okay, so
I would just add one thing on the the motivation participation aspect. We talked a little bit about the counselor being enthusiastic and how important that is. In that function of the counselor of motivating and inspiring participation, you have a variety of methods. I mean, there's some counselors who are the rah-rah type and can really get people excited, and they get into something. And then you have the comforters and the encouragers that see the kid who's sitting by themselves, not involved in the sport or an activity. And they can go over and show the kind of love and encouragement that's needed to get that child to participate. So when you think of the motivation and the participation duty of a counselor, think of that also as a person who is a comforter, the encourager as well, because that's another way in which you motivate people that have that particular need. They need comfort and encouragement, and that gets them involved and that gets them motivated. So it's a broad scale there of skills and personalities in a counselor that really go well together if you have a couple of different styles of counselors in your dorm.
Yeah, it's a good comment. It's a really good comment, Marty. Well, how do you, once you get people, let's say you got some good people that do these things and they're an effective counselor, how do you retain them? What do you do?
Pray that
Pray for the Holy
Pray they come back.
Pray for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, pray for the Holy Spirit that bring them back. Send them to the wilderness that is camp.
That's going to come from the
And
inside.
we praise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody do any intentional stuff like sending out thank you notes?
We appreciate them and praise them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Celebrate their accomplishments.
I know I was intentional with some of our newer counselors last summer, like, hey, you did a really good job. Do you think you could be a lead counselor sometime, and just kind of like that celebrating, but acknowledging, yeah, we saw what you did and we want you to do it again. And we want you to do more. And
Yeah, so oh yeah, how about I think Anthony Mullins likes to call it calling out leadership in them.
Mhm.
Like if you see somebody, like keeping people challenged, if you keep them stuck in the same role, sometimes they get bored with it and they don't see how they're going to grow. So it's like if they've been a counselor 6 years, maybe you want to make them, a lead counselor or a counselor to counselors, or give them another role, have them give a chapel or something, so that you're always keeping them stimulated and growing. Yeah, that's good.
Get them involved in planning.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Mark, get them involved in planning. Give them the ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that I just worked with a young girl since camp. We were trying to line. She finally helped us. I couldn't do it. And so she got involved, and I encouraged her. And as we talked through it, we talked many, many times. And we got down to the end of it, and we were trying to get it all figured out before we launched it. And her and I kind of went round and round a couple times. And I don't see it that way. And then she'd come back, yeah, but I see it this way. And I try to listen to her. And then I finally said, oh, I see what you're saying now. And then I let her make that decision.
Good. That's good.
I think that's part of letting them get involved. So
yes. Yeah, like turning things over to them, giving them a little bit of autonomy and the decision-making power. That's good. Yeah, because then they're invested. What you really want is transfer the ownership from yourself to them, because we all are so invested. Like, we want it to succeed. We're willing to do just about anything. But if they don't feel that same ownership, it's kind of like punching in, punching out, like their ownership, the same ownership isn't there. Their name isn't on the dotted line. So, yeah, I'm going to put that down.
Would we call that delegation?
Yeah, delegation.
There's two things I would say here. The one thing that I want to make sure that you would never, ever do. Of course, we're all about helping people grow into certain roles and develop their skills and their talents, but we never, ever want to force a person into a position that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's a surefire way to not get them back anywhere on your staff again.
Yeah, that's true.
There's been guys that have come on to our staff now. As a matter of fact, we just had one finally agree to be a counselor. Now, I've always thought all along that he could do the job.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do it. And so we didn't make him do it. And he finally came on. This is after 3 or 4 years. He finally agreed to be a counselor and did a great job. So, we allowed him to do his own thing for a while. So that was fine. But the other side of it is to make sure that you don't overload them, that they are not given more to do than they can possibly handle. And we were guilty of that early on in our experience. Too many campers in the dorm, things like that, and just stretching them too thin. So we have to be careful of those things. Those are the things that are directly in our control that we can take care of.
Yeah, I like that, Todd. That's a good caution. Right now in our denomination, we're using this phrase a lot: high support, high challenge, and that's important. But you got to make sure to balance those out so that support is there. If you just give them a job that they're not ready for, and then you walk away and you don't give them the tools or the training or the support, yeah, that's a surefire way to get them to walk away. So, good comment, Todd. Well, if you look in your handbook under 4.11, there is actually a paragraph about staff training there. It says, a trained staff is essential for effective GenMin events. Staff training is a challenge due to limited time for staff training both before and during such events. Nonetheless, staff training is essential and all staffers are to participate in whatever training is provided unless excused by the program director. So this is both for missions and camps. Staff training will often consist of a review of the policies set forth in this manual, as well as a discussion of the tools and techniques to successful events. For example, what happens if someone has a seizure or an allergic reaction or suffers from hypothermia? Camp directors are responsible to develop these procedures together with the camp nurse, facilities, managers, and other responsible and accountable persons. The plan should then be reviewed by local agencies, healthcare providers, etc. So that's what our denomination is expecting of us, is to be prepare for those kinds of contingencies. Some of you get tornadoes and fires and earthquakes, although we've never had an earthquake during camp. Thank goodness. And there's like 8 pages of staff development, which would be for a youth pastor or a regional youth director, all the way to missions and camps. It's not just camps, but I thought it was interesting. I pulled this out as a screenshot. It says staff development in these areas occurs at least in 3 forms. The first is macro staff development, which occurs when the entire camp comes together for orientation or motivational sessions, which help to raise the level of understanding of the entire staff. There's departmental staff development, which occurs when leaders have meetings within their department. So that'd be counselors or your office staff, your chaplains. These meetings are used to discuss direction, purpose, goals, provide feedback of how the unit's performing. And then there's the third one is individual staff development, where you meet with the staff to privately discuss issues and provide encouragement. And then there's also a part in the manual that talks about doing staff evaluations. Does anybody here evaluate your volunteer staff or have time or figure out a way to do that in an effective way? I know it would be helpful, but wow, we always just run out of time. Anybody here do it or ever done it?
Well, you know, the campers give their feedback from their feedback forms. And we have tried to share that, well, we have shared that with the counselors. And, you know, you get the bell curve, you know, you get, you get, most folks are going to be in the middle, but you get a camper that's like, oh, I love this person. Oh, I couldn't stand this person.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so you're talking about giving them the feedback they got from their campers or maybe peers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that one year where they had to rate each other. It was really stressful on the staff. They were stressing out about it. But yeah, it's tough. This is something we've not really got a handle on as far as like evaluating. And I know, you know, if this were my full-time job, that would be, you know, I'd be doing that for a couple months after camp, is calling them up and discussing how things went and how we saw their performance, and they could give us feedback on how things went for them, because you want to be rated too, and you want to know how you're doing as a director. So yeah, that's a goal. That's a goal right there for me, to be able to get to that point to do that.
And it is different with volunteers. I mean, when you have employees and they are being paid,
yep,
you have a right to evaluate them in a sense, at least a greater right than you do with volunteers. And so I don't think you want to treat them like they're employees when you do provide evaluation. Right. You know, you kind of have to be a little softer than that.
I agree. Yeah, the way that you say it. Yeah.
Our approach was we do have a camper survey, you know, at the end of each camp, and a couple of the questions have to do with reactions to their dorm staff. So we get some feedback on their counselors and so on that way. And then the other way is we also have our lead counselors are tasked with evaluating each of their counselors, assistant counselors, counselors in training, and so on. So we get that. Now, we don't necessarily, unless there's a problem area, we don't necessarily circulate back to each of those counselors. But what we do with that information is we glean things that we can use for the next staff training for the next camp. And if we see some trends or something, we make sure we include some information that'll be helpful for all of the staff before the next camp.
That's good. That's really helpful.
And Mike, Hickory Cove also gave us a survey form. So all the campers actually were able to comment on the upkeep of the camp and how their staff, how they felt their staff treated them as a camper.
Yeah.
So that was also insightful.
Yeah, that's good. Any kind of feedback you can get like that to improve what you're doing, even the system that you have in place is really good. I'd be thinking about how you might want to do that. In the manual, have you all seen this? The Appendix 2, Standards of Excellence for Camp Counselors. It's pretty rigorous, pretty up there. Like, who said that? I know one person who did this 2,000 years ago could live up to this. So some of the things we've already said, though, are on here, like being a team player, a diligent servant leader, create an atmosphere of love, you know, and you can read through this. I think for you to put it maybe in ways the expectations to your staff, maybe word it, format it a little differently. I know in the beginning, we used to give this out to the counselors and it freaked them out because they'd read it and go, oh, there's no way I can do this. I'm not up to par. And so, we tried to find other ways to say the same thing without it being so, it's 2 pages, by the way. This is just the top 2 boxes, rows. It's a 2-page document. And then there's another chart for camp staff members in addition to the counselors. This is just for counselors. But you might want to refer to that. And how many of you have job descriptions? Let me just see. A written job description for your counselors. Anybody? No? That's something we started about 3 years ago, and it does say in the manual, ask us to have them, funny enough. It's a lot of work to get it done the first time. After that, you can just kind of tweak them. But there's some examples in the GenMin handbook you can look at. Or if you want examples, Melinda helps you done a lot of the work on ours. Everybody from director down to dorm parent. We don't have a kitchen staff, but you can do that. And then we try to hand those out when we have staff come on board, especially brand new staff, to let them know, here's what we expect. We expect you to be with your dorm all the time. We expect you to be there lights out and not sneak out at night and like whatever. We just put everything on there that we can think of that would be, and it's kind of looks formal. It looks like a job description. It looks like a employed job description, but it's a good, I think some people really want to know, what do you expect of me? And then they know what to live up to. So that's another thing you can do in your staff. Okay, so let me go to the other thing, of course, and you hear me say this all the time, is we've got a YouTube channel with some things on there, which we can keep adding videos as we make them. But as you're training up your other staff, or maybe even some of your counselors, you can have them watch any of these topics that are on there. And I'm going to actually go out to my Google Drive. So I created, if you go out to the GenMin shared files, which I can send the link out again, but all of you should have it. Last year, this is where we put all of our curriculum ideas in, all in curriculum, general resources, heart, soul, mind, strength, neighbor, logo. And I started a new folder for this year, #followers. And I added 2 things out there. One is the curriculum, which is a draft. And then I added the game. There's a follow the leader game that's really fun. We've done it with our youth group a number of times. But there's also a folder that you will have access to called Camp Testimonies. We don't have a lot in there. Higher Ground has one in there. And then this was Anthony, oh my goodness. YES Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon. It was Brandon video. Yeah. And then we also have faith webbing resources. If you remember, there's a book summary. Gary Pakuch, who did that presentation. Was that last year?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, last year. So there's a lot of resources in there. There's also all the webinars. Actually, you can't see them from this computer, but they're all in there for the last 3-4 years. Group games. I know Michelle's put a lot in here. Large group games, the minute to win it. And please add to these if you have some resources that would be helpful. Missions files. Hey, we have nothing in there, at least that I can see. Feel free to throw some stuff out there. Purity session ideas. There's one thing out there. But what I wanted to show you is I just started this staff training. And I put an article from ACA on what do you expect. It's an article about doing staff training. You can look at that and read it if you'd like to. And if you find other stuff, I created this document that you can just go and type into. And I found last night when I was like surfing the web for good camp counselor stuff, I found this link. It's 9 TED Talks that anyone working in summer camp should watch. And I watched about 4 of them, and they're really good. And they're short, 6 to 12 minutes. on everything from connecting with nature to why a residential camp, overnight camp is really valuable. So feel free to go in here and please don't delete anything on here, but go in and type and add to any to resources that you've found that are really helpful with staff training. This is specifically staff training. And then, of course, the only other thing I just added here is the GenMin handbook is also in this overall folder. So if you want to go in and pull that up. So let me, before we close out, because we're right at about time here, let me open up the curriculum. Did everybody get a copy of this?
Mm-hmm.
Followers, and it's a big time draft. It's just best draft. We're trying to have the final version to you when we meet in April. But you can go in here, and this is for the next 2 years, so that's kind of cool. We already know what our theme is for next year. So you can go in there and look at that. And then I also put, I put the GenMin Director Summit schedule in here. So you can go in here, and as it changes, of course, Jeff will update it, but you can go in here and know that who's doing what. And I think Jeff's been pretty good about getting all of you involved in leading stuff. So, so once again, make sure you register if you haven't already, and make sure that you at least let Jeff know if you or somebody else you know is going. And if you have a topic suggestion that is not covered already in the agenda that Jeff's put together, please send that to him, as soon as you can, so he can make sure that that topic gets addressed. We want, when you leave the summit, we want you to walk away going, that was really beneficial. I connected with people. I got some great ideas I can take home. I grew. We don't want it to be the kind of thing where you felt like it was a waste of time or money. So we need to know what you're looking for in getting together. Are there any questions or anything that we can pray about for you as we conclude the webinar?
And I do have one.
Yes.
I do have one quick. I want to say it was last that Jeff. I want to say I recall him saying that we shouldn't book a room at the hotel because he wanted to, I guess, do it as a block. Should we? I'll go ahead and do it. Is that squared away? I guess he was trying to leverage it for a lower price or something.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. You know what? I would text him and ask him, because he is answering his texts. I think he's actually seeing his emails, but he's not. He's getting that. He's got that auto reply that says he's out of town. But yeah, if you need to book, I don't know, Mark. Do you know anything about the hotel rooms?
As far as I know, we're not to book our own.
We're not to book our own.
Yeah, as far as I know, that changed.
I'm pretty sure that was in his email. He said to wait.
To wait. Okay.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure I the go forward work.
He sent the link out, I think, yesterday.
Oh, to register? I mean, to book a room?
Right. And he also said that we're not supposed to send our email or our credit cards, or we do it through our camp or whatever we're doing. And then we call Pam Morgan. I tried to get her today, but she didn't answer back. So he's got all that information that he just sent out to us.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Linda.
Thank
Do you have a question? I do. Another question. I typed it up in the chat, but
oh yeah, I don't know if Mark was watching the chat.
About the logo, and I was wondering about the GenMin manual. Didn't you say last time that it was being updated?
It still is. I don't think it's released yet.
We don't have it yet. Okay.
Yeah. So that the latest one is the one I have posted, and it's August 2017. So it's there's a lot of revisions that need to be done to it, and I think it's getting an overhaul. So I'm not sure when that's going to come out. I'll talk to Jeff about that. But thank you for asking that. Yes, that is correct.
And Carrie said, she mentioned here, Malawi. I'm not sure I said that right.
Yeah.
John and Carla Reinigal are in Mozambique. And they're okay, just to keep them in mind. But I think he said his family went to Southern Africa, so.
They were trying to get Claire and the kids out, but I know just reports today that, the roads are completely just flooded, and so it's hard to get resources even into them. for those that are there. So, and I don't, I know the flooding is bad in Malawi. I don't know anything personally about any of them there, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of damage there, and that's going to impact anything.
Wow.
I sent a few pictures that look pretty bad.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I wasn't aware of that.
And Carl had said that a storm and rains hit, and so there was flooding, and then it swung around and became a cyclone, and a tornado ripped through. So it was like a double whammy, and I think they have more coming. So,
wow.
And thinking of camps and things, they've been on my mind this evening.
Yes, I bet. Thank you, Carrie. I know that's near and dear to your heart. Mark mentioned in the chat that we're working on a very simple logo. It's just going to be #followers. Very simple. So we'll share with you what we're doing for SEP. That's on the SEP side of things. But I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to share that with anybody who wants to use it. And of course, as you all do, you modify and make it your own, which is awesome. Let's see. Lee wrote something. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the chat room now. Crossing borders, mission trips. You'll answer that. Okay, good. Are there any other questions? I don't want to leave anything out there unanswered or unaddressed. All good? Okay. Carrie, would you pray us out? That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Precious God, we do just to thank you so very much for the just numerous ways that you allow us to connect with you, to see your love, to feel your love, and to share it and be your love to those around us. God, we thank you for these opportunities to grow and learn from each other as we do continue to follow after you and be discipled as we are discipling, Lord, and helping to do that better and be better examples as we continue forward in all that you have for us. And we do pray for our brothers and sisters all over the world, Lord, not even just within GCI who do summer camps, but that this is something that so many of your children get so much out of just all over. And we pray especially for those who are, they're unable to maybe think and plan about camp right now because of the devastation that they're experiencing in those countries. And we just pray for the resources to get to where they need to go, and that you just uplift the spirits and the strength of those who are providing support. And I thank you for just even this time to come together and support one another, Lord, and know that we are in this together because we are with you and with each other. And we just thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. And may I encourage you to go out to the DCI Facebook page and vote on the photography contest that's going on right now. And there's a lot of good pictures. I think there's 9, 10, 11. Are there 15 maybe? Go out there and check them out. Something cool that the home office has done. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in a month in person. So that'll be really great. So be well, be blessed, and we'll see you very soon. Everybody.
See you soon.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.